What I can tell you is that we're doing crowdfunding in commercial real estate, which essentially brings the opportunity to smaller investors to participate in large commercial real estate offerings in cities like New York that were privy to the very wealthy before. So that, you could tell, is a disruption, in the industry. Well, people understood that the opportunity is big because for 80 years, until 2013, since 1933, investors didn't have the opportunity to participate directly in private offerings. If they wanted to invest in commercial real estate, they had to do it in multi-asset funds, which doesn't bring, that much visibility to the underlying assets. And people like to know where their money is. With this, thanks to the change in the law called the Jobs Act, investors, private and smaller investors, have access to these opportunities, for the first time, since the Great Depression. Picture it like this. Imagine that there was a big room with 100 people called the public market, where people would invest in stocks and bonds and in alternatives and derivatives. And that there was also a VIP room called the private equity market. For 80 years, only the very wealthy, namely the accredited investors, were the ones approved to invest in the private equity market, in the VIP. In 2013, imagine that the VIP opened its doors, to everybody. So the interesting thing, is that we just went in that VIP and we took the asset that we liked the most, which was commercial real estate, because it had proven to be the safest asset class throughout the different crises in the United States. So if you go into that situation, picture a room that it's open for you for the first time in so long, you pick the asset, that has the most value. And we took that asset and we brought it to the public. I think that that's probably an easy way to characterize the huge opportunity that crowdfunding in commercial real estate entails. Commercial, for us, the definition in the US, I don't know if it is the same one as here, entails everything that is not residential. So you can apply it to everything that is not residential. However, that's what we decided to do because it generates a cash flow, so you mitigate the risk. People can really apply it to anything. The thing is that with a residential exit, we think it's very risky for investors, so we stay away from that. Our portfolio right now is over $1 billion. We had investors from 27 countries, from 26 different states. We have interest from investors in 86 countries. It is important, because we were expecting in the beginning an antagonistic response. But in fact, they embraced the model very successfully because they saw, that it is transparent. They saw that investors understand the assets. Because if you think about it, a large building that generates cash flow, as long as you can service debt, no one is taking your money away. And it is a very simple paradigm. And the assets that we're choosing are good. So that lends an additional validation, to the type of real estate we do, having lenders like the ones we work with. We have Bank of America, we have Deutsche Bank, we have CIBC, we have Barton, and that is important, for added validation. I think it's global because if you think about it, investors right now, private, smaller investors, they don't have access to return. They're invested in stocks, in bonds, in alternatives, and potentially in some residential real estate. But where would somebody with $20,000 put their money? They don't have yield and they don't have, a security on their investment as well. So this one lends, a very safe investment, particularly during crises, because the worst that can happen to you is that the rents go a little lower, and you will make less, but no one is risking your capital. And when the market goes up through the same appreciation of the rent, it translates into an appreciation of the asset. So you don't have that type of opportunity if you're a smaller investor anywhere in the world. That's why we have interest, from 86 countries so far. At the moment, we're not looking at anything in Ireland, but what I would like to do is to extend an invitation to local developers to look into the model, because it really helps, in moments of transition. It also helps in providing an opportunity to investors, to projects that otherwise would be very difficult to finance, not because they're riskier, just because traditional equity financing has a disconnect in terms of the long-term component of the real estate and the requirements in timing that they have. A private equity fund normally wants to exit between 3 to 5 years. And the real estate, in order for it to realize its true potential in terms of value, has to be held for longer than that. So with crowdfunding, communities can invest in projects in a more lined up way, with the needs of the real estate. We're very happy to see how traditional financial institutions have endorsed the model. And that is important because it lends validation to the type of assets, that we're bringing to the crowd.